Before we start today's video, I really want you guys to listen to what I'm saying so that there is no confusion. A big part of Zenless Zone Zero is the gear system as a whole, and you finding different ways to use the gear system to blend it in with your characters, your team building, the core passives, blah, blah, blah. One of the key things that I like to look at when it comes to a lot of these games, especially games from Hoyoverse in particular, is how does that gear system impact particular characters, teams, whatever the case may be. Now, some of you guys are from Genshin Impact, I understand that, and in Genshin, it's a lot more lenient. You don't really need to use the weapons when it comes to Genshin Impact, or at least the limited banner weapons or 5-star weapons. And Star Rail, you can get away with this without using some light cones, but then you have characters and even newer characters coming out now, but you have a character like Topaz, who with her light cone is, well, complete, and without her light cone, it doesn't feel the best. And that doesn't mean that you can't use these characters, but there's a clear difference between when you have this weapon, if you will, that the character wants versus when you don't have the weapon that the character wants. And so some games make this super easy to ignore, if you will. Wuthering Waves is a perfect example of that, where you just don't have to worry about that because the standard weapons as of right now are just really good, and they gave us like 2 or 3 of them for free. So yeah, plus the weapon banner is 100% guaranteed. But in Zenless's case, that's not true yet. Maybe TLDR, at some point your characters are going to need the weapons, but let me explain. A lot of my thesis on what's going on with Zenless is based around my previous experience, not so much with fighting games but with gacha games, in particular Hoyo. And one of the key games that I want to talk about is Honkai Impact 3rd. Hi3 is a game that a lot of people probably know about, whether that be from the stories, the characters, or just being one of the origin games for Hoyoverse. But a lot of people don't know how this game plays out. Honkai Impact 3rd is one of those games where if you know, you know, and if you don't, you're going to be super confused. It looks pretty, the combat's awesome, there's a lot that's great about Impact, but every single person that I've talked to that predominantly plays Impact all say the same thing. If you pull a character and you don't get their weapon, it is almost a shoo-in that you are not going to have a complete character. And to them, this is normal. Now, they're not promoting whaling or anything of the sort, right? But they are all aware on how important a weapon is. Even if we were to look at Honkai Impact 3rd now and we looked at a character, their kit, and then we looked at the weapon, it's very clear when a signature weapon for a character has something locked off in it, if you will. I even got a comment recently that pretty much explained just that in my previous video, and they almost one for one, bar for bar, exactly what I was trying to say in a single comment. A lot of the games that you guys are familiar with are lenient when it comes to the weapon system or the gear system and what you're allowed to do or compete with as far as damage performance goes, or even just the character performance in general, right? Some characters don't do damage, they help support the team or give buffs, whatever the case may be, or even reduce the enemy's defenses and whatnot, like Rena and her penetration value. But in a game like Impact, Zenless Zone Zero is so much more close. That's not a sentence, don't use that. Zenless Zone Zero is so much closer to Honkai Impact 3rd than a lot of you realize, and that could be a really good thing or a really bad thing. Today, I wanted to do something special, and by this point that you guys are watching this video, I'm gone. I'm at Evo, which is a big reason why I'm doing that. I can't control the sunlight, by the way, so if anyone says like, bro, why is it so bright? It's because the window's right there, and it's like the golden dawn time. It doesn't matter. Point being is that I brought my buddies Jayniro and Rehoo on. These are the 2 guys that I know play Honkai Impact 3rd like crackheads. They're all over the game. They play this every day. They spend money on the game. Well, Rehoo doesn't anymore because they didn't have to, because he has so many of the currency. He doesn't have to do that anymore, but whatever. I'm going to let them introduce themselves and we're going to get into it, but you guys can check them out down below. I pretty much gave them the floor. I really wanted to see from their own eyes, their own perspective on how they felt about the game and where they thought the game was going to go, both in terms of a meta perspective as well as whether or not the weapons would be required, if you will. And disclaimer, they're not required, but we're going to talk about it. There's a very clear difference, and I wanted to make that very clear. Some of you guys are under the impression that Zenless and a B rank weapon or an A rank weapon is going to get the job done. No. If you watch some of the streamers who are playing the game and you watch some of the creators who are making content on the game, even the players, a lot of players who have already hit what could be considered in game, basically reaching about proxy level 40. Once you reach that point, you're seeing a lot of players have a complete 180 in how they felt, right? They're going from, man, this game is piss easy, it's too easy, it's mashable, and now all of a sudden, like, damn, I didn't learn shit while I was playing the game. I've been mashing my entire game up to this point, I didn't learn anything. I don't know combos. I don't know my proper rotations. I don't know how to safely activate the days meter, anything. It doesn't matter what it is, and nothing that I said is super specific, but I do want to point out that that is where a lot of the in-game players or players who have reached in-game, that's where they are right now. And that's only going to get worse because right now we're on 1.0. So I'm trying to give you guys this whole like prepare your mind, or at least prepare to accept, how do I put this? Prepare to accept the reality of Zenless Zone Zero and where it has the highest potential to go based on the number of the data, if you will, right? The number of times we've seen this happen in each and every game. And from what I've been researching, Genshin Impact is getting ready to do that too. But this ain't the video for that. Now, without further ado, guys, I've already introduced this through the beginning of the video, but I've got Jayniro and I've got Rehoo with me. And I pretty much want to give them the floor to go over the topic of conversation here. And we'll obviously bleed into some other things, but I want to give them the floor going into what I believe Zenless Zone Zero is very similar, or they have strong similarities to Honkai Impact Third. And a lot of the Honkai Impact Third players are very much well aware of this in terms of like in-game, right? I understand that people play for the story. I'm not so much talking about them because they don't play what could be, you guys told me it was Nirvana, right? That's the name of the in-game mode.
No, you got Abyss, but like you have different rankings, and that's like falls into the PvP aspect of it.
Okay, well, actually, if you guys want to just take over then and kind of explain that for the viewers that don't fully understand it, myself as well.
Well, let me boot up Honkai just in case, so I have.
Oh yeah, for sure. And if you want to like share the Honkai screen, I'll record that too.
Bet.
Or rather, you record that and then.
Yeah, I have Zenless already booted up. Let me boot up Honkai as well.
Right,
so get both at the same time in case I want to swap over.
I wonder if my PC is gonna explode if I open Zenless Honkai and have it recording the camera.
Dude, I mean, I've had streams where I was like streaming and I'm playing Destiny, and then I'm like, oh, I need to do like Star Rail at the same time, or I need to do yada yada, and it shit. Like I was able to do it. I don't know how I was able to do it, but I was able to do it. Nice of Honkai to be there with the... Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, let me where's my share screen button? This is nice.
I'm gonna judge you on your character on screen. Oh, you just have Lantern.
Oh no.
I mean, I always rock with the latest character on screen.
The latest character?
Yeah. Okay. So the way Abyss, shit, how do I I don't have this set up for this. Oh shit. I'm gonna not worry about it on my own then. But the way
you're recording it for yourself, right? The gameplay?
I am. I can just make it a little bit bigger as well, so just in case. But so you have in Honkai, you have your end game modes here, right? This is we have like all our different modes available to us here, but in the challenge section we have all of our different end game modes here. So Super String Dimension is what we refer to as Abyss. And that the reason why is because as you level up through the game, you go through different brackets of people. So you see right here, it says level 81 to 88. This is the Exalted bracket. So through different brackets, you get different Abyss modes. The very first in the game there ever was called Infinite Abyss. And we see over here, Abyss missions as well under here.
Right.
So this is the Abyss mode. It's closed right now because it's a new week. It should be opening in a... Unfortunately, we're recording this too early, so I can't show it off. But
we'll get some B-roll over it.
Yeah, I have a recording of it as well. I can show my stream footage as well if you want to see that. But you have 4 different nodes in this Abyss. You have your starting node, that is your first one only available to you, and then when you clear that floor, it opens up 2 more nodes, and then when you clear either one of those, it opens up the boss node, the boss floor. And so the top 3 ones, so the left boss and then the top node, the upper node, they all have the same weather, but then the bottom one actually has an off weather. So that's just a quick like...
And can you explain what that weather system is for them?
So the weather system generally, I don't even know if I have any footage on hand to show it off, but the weather system basically is, you know how you have your weather system in like Star Rail and Genshin, and also ZZ, where you have like different effects that affect like different aspects of the gameplay of things happening on screen for
Right.
the,
So
for the
like
team.
memory turbulence in Starro. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Exactly.
the thing about Honkai is we don't necessarily have that. Instead, we have an actual true weather system where you have certain damage things go up and other damage things go down. So for example, if
Massively
it's
down.
massive, yeah. So for example,
Yeah, like if you don't
significantly
have that, let's say ice damage, you're just not doing damage, you're doing anything else. You're
yeah,
gonna be doing minimal damage if you're doing any other damage type
And-
that's not
yeah.
ice.
And that works across the board, right? Like that's not specific to whales or
No, yeah, that's across
yeah,
the board.
that's
everyone
across
that participates
everyone.
in the in-game
Yeah.
mode. Yeah.
The weather system is for that entire cycle of Abyss.
And take it
So-
up a notch. We in Honkai now you don't have to only worry about it just being ice. There's also the typings of each character as well.
Exactly.
Luckily enough, we don't have that in Zenless because if that was the case, oh yeah, wallets were gonna be burnt in an instant.
Well,
but
there kind of is, but they coincided with the damage typing as well because of the fact that, you know, you have like ice damage is more effective versus ethereals, you have fire damage more effective versus organic
actually,
enemies.
technically you're right.
They have that in the
technically,
game, but they
you're right.
coincided with the damage types.
Yeah.
But
I love that we're talking about this because I've been trying to tell people for a minute now. I'm like, yo, this is Honkai Impact 3 coded. Like, this is,
Dude,
you guys
I
need to
can't
be
even
prepared.
show
It's
this
not
off.
what you think it is.
I can't even show
Thank you
this
for none
off.
of the endgame modes off.
Bruh, fuck,
All of it is resetting.
It's literally it's Monday. It is before anything reset. I can show this though. I can go into collection and show enemies. So you notice how all these different enemies you see, they have different symbols next to their name, right?
Mhm.
We have like an orange symbol. We have a pink symbol, blue symbol, purple symbol, yellow symbol, yada yada, gray symbol. This refers to the enemy's typing, and it coincides with, get this, Valkyrie battlesuit typing, which is different from their damage typing.
Yeah.
So for
Like,
example, if we
imagine-
let's take the most extreme example I can think of right now, and that's Jizo Mitama, right? Jizo
Mhm.
Mitama is a biotype enemy, meaning you need mech type characters or bio to deal good damage versus it. Now, the way the actual like suit typing works in Honkai is it works like an RPS system, rock paper scissors, where certain types deal more damage to other types. So mech deals more damage to bio deals more damage to psychic deals more damage to bio, right? And it's about a 30% damage increase. But if you do the reverse, it's I think minus 30% damage. But if you have the same suit typing, it's flat damage. You don't get any bonus. But then you have your damage typing, and Jizo Mitama is notorious for this because, as we see, we have heavy ice resistance, heavy fire resistance, heavy lightning resistance, right? So you're doing like negative elemental damage, which means you need to be dealing physical damage, only physical damage. And on top of it, that's not even counting the enemy's defensive values and resistance values. Resistance being elemental resistance, and defense going solely for, well, no, defense also, it's just their natural defensive stat, right?
Right.
But then they also have the shields on top of them, which only physical can deal with. If we're talking about physical shields, there are elemental shields, but physical shields primarily physical characters can only deal with. But Jizo Mitama has very high defensive values, so even though your physical damage is a lot higher than your elemental damage by proxy, there's still not a lot because he has a lot of very high defensive stat, unfortunately.
Right.
Not to mention all the different, like, you see all the different skills he can do and just how much he does. That's just
And
Jizo
so
Mitama.
if you were to
for
come
example.
from like a regular player, right?
Yeah.
Would you say I'm trying to figure out how to word this without outright just making it seem like it's totally in the favor of what I'm arguing for here, but
Hey,
how would you go about this if you were like a free to play, right? If you're a free to play player or a low spender, you know, and you need all these different things, and let's say that you would have started at, you know, let's say the equivalent to Zenless, right? You're starting at 1.0. How would you approach going into this if you knew this is where in-game was going, or rather they showed you once you got to in-game that this is pretty much a high possibility that these things could happen? Because in Zenless, you know, we have some options like the A rank weapons that are pretty good, and we don't have stigmata. Instead, we have the gear sets, right?
Drive
And so
disc,
you
yeah.
can go farm for your gear. Yeah, the drive disc, you can farm for those and everything like that. You can level up your skills, all that kind of stuff. But it's really important to look at when I think, I feel like the weapon in particular is very important. So in Impact Third, let's say that you were free to play and you're like, I'm only going to craft weapons and get A rank weapons. Does that affect your damage output?
Yes.
And by how much?
%,
Yes.
1,000,000,000%.
There's a thing with Honkai. I had to deal with it in my Thelema guide, where people, for whatever reason, don't understand what the fuck a nuanced take is. Apologies. But it pisses
You're
me
good.
off. It pisses me off. People don't understand what a nuanced take is. Where I specifically was like, hey, this character, if you're in this specific situation, you get like S2 of this character and you don't manage to get the weapon, you can't afford it. It's okay. Pick up the weapon later. People freaked out because they said, because I was like suggesting rank over weapon. Because in Honkai Impact Third, the weapon is so unbelievably crucial to character, like especially as time has gone on nowadays. It's like if you don't have a character with their weapon, they're
not a
like
character.
effectively useless. Like I think I gave a comparison in my Lantern guide where Lantern with her weapon in a full rotation was doing like 28 million damage, and if I was using Helia's weapon, for example, this one, she was dealing like 21 million damage. So that's a difference of 7 million damage, which can very easily make or break some rotations and some runs.
Clears, right?
But the reason why Thelema's was so much bigger, and the reason why weapons are such a huge part of characters, is because they actually lock parts of characters' kits behind their weapon. So, for example, Thelema's weapon specifically has a portion here that states when she uses her ultimate, after she uses her ultimate, she gains 3 seconds of time frozen domain, which, for those that don't know Honkai, essentially means everything on screen stops. All skill timers stop, all stage timers stop, and everything is static for that period of time during time frozen domain, which is astronomically huge for Thelema because it gives her a portion of time of just where she can generate enough of her meter for free to get off a moment of indulgence, which is her essentially nuke attack.
And what I think is interesting, because you mentioned that. Now, my experience is with Kiana, the Flame Hersher,
Which one?
Well as
which one?
Flame Scion. Flame Scion. Yeah.
Okay.
Flame Scion, and then as well as my favorite character, Raiden.
Which one?
So
Thunder.
not the
Thunder.
yeah, Hersher of Thunder.
Thunder?
Hersher of Thunder. Yeah. And her, because when I first started, it was because Raiden was I just randomly opened up Honkai Impact Third, and it was a trailer or something like that, and they showed off Raiden, and they were like, yo, she's on the banner right now. I didn't know it. I immediately spent money, right? Because like I love Raiden in every universe. I then learned, hey, you need that weapon, by the way. Yeah.
So
you need the weapon. And her stuff is locked behind the weapon, but
I gotta
and it's not
ask
even
which
that, like,
weapon
she
as
can't-
well.
Because
Because
was
you're
the
not
first
wrong.
version.
This
He
was
did-
the
very
first,
first
yeah,
one.
the first
It wasn't
one.
a
I
divine
do have the
key.
new one though. Yeah, I
Yeah.
have the new one.
This
but
one
this
is
was
much
before
better.
the new one existed. Yeah, this is before the new one even was a thing.
Where is
So
it?
I have both.
So you're
but-
talking about this one, which grants a lot of paralyzed trauma and increases the literally 40% bonus lightning damage from her weapon for free is crazy.
Yep, just for equipping it. And
Just for
so
equipping it.
when I looked at this and I related this to Zenless, I'm like, and that's why I, for instance,
Don't
when
even
I
start
brought
on
up the
Seven
Prywin
Thunders.
thing, because the video is live now, I talked about Prywin and I said, I think that we need to reevaluate, and by we, I mean them, reevaluate not focusing criteria around limited banner characters with their weapon, right? Because I know that in Star Oil or in Genshin, they try and limit it so that it's more free to play friendly. But I noticed as well, they don't have Impact Third on their website.
No, they
because
don't.
if they did, there's no way you could have a free to play, you know, like they don't have their signature weapon, because half of what they want to do as far as a kit goes is locked into that weapon. And even without it being limited banners in Zenless right now, there are characters, for instance, Grace or Coleta, their standard weapons are their signature weapons, and that basically completes the character. There are some weapons in the game, and all of them really. Rena is another good example of that. Rena wants energy. Her weapon gives her off-field energy, and Rena doesn't want to be on the field at all times. But that penetration rate that she gets for free skyrockets, because if you don't have her weapon, there's no way you can reach the cap to get her penetration. And even with the weapon, you still need a little bit more
Yeah, it's like
to reach the cap for her
2-3%
penetration.
left over.
Yeah, you're a couple percentages off, right? So when I look at that and I compare it to Impact Third, and I'm like, the weapons are so important to the characters. And it got to a point, especially early on in Impact, where it was more about fulfilling or completely building out a character slash team versus horizontal investment, right? Collecting all of the characters, because you don't really need that at the start of the game. You gradually grow your roster over time. And I really feel like that's where Zenless is right now, is like, if you focus on, hey, I knew I wanted Zhu Yin, and then I'm going to save up, skip Ellen, get Zhu Yin in her weapon. Boom. They just released Jane Doe, right? Okay, I just happened to get lucky. I got Jane Doe. Let me throw everything else, throw everything else at her weapon, and then grab it that way, or at least until, you know, find an equivalent until I can get something on her rerun. But I feel like that's so much more important in that game because of what we've already seen in Impact Third. Like the data is right here in our face. The game plan's right here in our face. They just laid it out for us.
Especially when you look at how strong some of these premium W engines are, like Ellen's giving like 40% crit rate just for existing for the most part. And getting that much crit rate allows you to not only get the crit damage from the core passive, which is like 100-something%, and then adding on top another disc drive with crit damage, you're starting to hit like 150Ks to 200Ks with Ellen easily, just because she has that much available to her, with her giving herself crit damage, the engine giving her the crit rate. It just balances her ratios out super well.
And it's so funny because we're not even at like level 70, 80 characters.
Yeah.
We're still at 40s and 50s hitting this hard with a character just because you have her W engine. Like, have you seen some of the, I think Fob had it, almost 100% crit rate before he goes into battle. I'm like, yo, what?
Yeah, I think last I saw I had like 70%, and then with some of Ellen's mindscapes, it would go up to 100, which was crazy.
That's crazy, the mindscapes included.
But like on W engines though as well, you know, it's kind of already taking the path that Genshin now is just barely approaching, where early on in Genshin, you know, a lot of the weapons were kind of generic, and so you did have characters with their signature weapons, but because of how generic their additional passive abilities were and how universally useful those substats were on the weapons, you could just throw them on like so many different characters, right?
Yeah.
But we see more modern weapons like Arlecchino's weapon, Clorin's weapon, even Sijuan's bow as well, where they synergize more with the character that they release with. And Star Rail's more like
Star
generic.
Has it too,
Star,
but you're
it's,
right.
it's Star Rail's getting there. Star Rail hitting it faster. It's still generic for the most part. Yeah. Like for example, Dr. Regio's is like free crit damager, I think, something like that, right? Basically.
Yeah.
But with ZZZ, you know, a lot of these like additional abilities on these W engines, these S rank W engines specifically, like right now they may seem kind of generic, but they're inherently still very tied to the character, because you throw this on other characters, and I talk about this in my own like W engine tier list video, where I mention even Ellen and Julien's W engines, because Julien's we have info from their beta of like what it does. But you know, some of these W engines, they're really tied to their characters, like you mentioned with Coleta, where Coleta has a lot of her days is tied, like a lot of her days multiplier and buildup is tied behind using her skill. And so while characters do get energy off field passively through like teams, through the team and their actions, having the extra regen on her W engine itself allows Coleta to access her enhanced skill, her enhanced special attack a lot faster, a lot more normally than other characters, which means she actually becomes a more functional stunner.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I think, even the reason that, for instance, when we talk about like the tier list and we value characters, the reason that a lot of us put Lycan as the tier 0 is because Lycan's one of the characters, one of the few characters, he works without his weapon. Like the weapon just makes him that much better.
Yeah.
Right. But then Coleta needs her weapon to
Very
be
much
even close to, close to par with Lycan. She needs her weapon for it. Lycan can use whatever he wants. You give him, if you give them both their standard weapons, he clears her.
Yeah, Lycan is by like in tiers above Coleta.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. That's why I hate the fact that I pulled Coleta instead of Lycan. Like I'm so sad because I even trash talked Coleta a bit in one of my videos, and it pisses me off.
That's why I stopped, because anytime I trash on a character, I'll immediately get them, and I'm like, no.
But like Kayan has like so much of his days build up behind his charged basic attacks, and his W engine further enhances that, whereas Coleta is locked behind her skills. So Lycaon just absolutely clears Coleta.
Yeah,
100%.
absolutely. I feel like when it comes to everything that we're discussing right now, and we're talking about all the different characters and where it's going, this is a really good, I guess, segue. I mean, we've already been talking about it, but how do you guys feel about the meta direction for Zenless compared to the knowledge that you have about Impact Third, what you've seen, how quickly or slowly you've seen them make these changes when it comes to Zenless and what we have right now, everything that we've seen from Shiyu defense specifically? Because I know Hollow Zero is different, but I also know that Impact Third has an equivalent to
Elysian
Hollow
Realm?
Zero. It's just not the exact, Elysian Realm. So using the knowledge that you have for both of those, where do we see the meta going with Zenless? Is it more so geared towards you just want a bunch of characters? Because we've already seen it, right? The resources, once you get to like 35, 40,
those get
40 or something
destroyed.
like that, hard.
Oh my
yeah.
God.
You are not building all these characters.
No.
I don't care how many characters you pull. There's no way for you to build all these characters without, essentially being a whale. You have to max refresh every day, and then you would be able to build up something. But if you're free to play, there's no shot you're gonna be able to. Oh, I'm gonna pull Ellen. I'm gonna pull a Julian. I'm gonna pull a Jane Doe. I'm gonna build them all. No, you're barely gonna be able to build one.
The thing right now, which I would say is the grace that Zenless has given us over what Impact has. Right now for Zenless, which I've been able to 100% do because I'm almost done with Shiyu. I think I have only 2 stages left before I'm done with the red node.
Bro's got all the time in the world to progress. That's crazy.
I have the last 2 nodes left, and the grace that we have in Zenless that's gonna stop people from having to do as much horizontal growth is the fact that we have the disorder system. Since we have characters like Grace and
so good.
Piper, those characters, and including other characters that are supports as well that have really good anomaly buildup, that allows us to stop the need to be able to horizontally invest as much and focus more on vertical investment. Because if, for me, example, people are running mono teams, which I think is 100% fine at the current moment because that's all we have access to when it comes to building out characters. But when we start delving into the anomaly system, and especially with how I'm using something like Soldier, Piper, and Lucy to brute force some of these ether stages, I have Soldier proccing the burn with Lucy, and then Piper comes in, drops 100k disorder, drops an 80k assault. And that's something we don't have in Impact to be able to have that flexibility, because right now is mainly mono teams, or you have a specific tricolor element weather, where it's specific teams that have multiple elements in one go. But we don't have reactions like the same way Zenless has. So
no,
I think
sorry. I was just gonna say like yeah, we don't have reactions, but I mean, in terms of the way the anomaly system in ZZZ works, ZZZ doesn't necessarily have reactions either, other than disorder. Disorder is like the only reaction, Genshin reaction equivalent thing. The way like anomalies work in Zenless is more akin to like the status effect system in Honkai, where you build up this status on the enemy, and when you reach a certain threshold, it triggers an effect on an enemy. So like how with Zenless, you're wailing on an enemy with your fire team with Soldier. Eventually they're going to end up being burned, right? The same thing happens in Honkai, where you're building up ignite stacks on an enemy with Siren or Aichan, and when you reach a certain amount of ignite stacks, you're going to trigger an ignition on the character, and this character is going to continue to tick over for ignite damage. So it's
I can see it that
similar.
way. I can see it in a way like it's mixed between both, because the disorder factor is still a huge portion of it. So I don't know how
disorder is a combination of everything Hoyo's put out so far, right?
It kind of
you have
is.
the elements reaction, and like
that's exactly
what
I was gonna say.
Disorder piece is, right? You have the break system from
that's exactly
Star Rail, and like that's what that disorder number 100%. Is, right? Like boom, the big hit, that's the break effect,
the super break.
And then you also have the ignition or the status effect from Impact, and that's essentially the elemental triggers in Zenless that we have right now. So I think they did a really good job
100%.
at creating their own elemental system and then bringing the best of all worlds into one. I love that we have the anomaly system in
Me
Zenless.
too. I love
it's
it
a
so
very
much.
very good system.
It's so
I think
fun.
I think
it's got a lot of room to grow.
I think they also, something that I haven't heard anybody talk about yet, is it affects your general team building as well in a way. And I'm sure you guys already know. Yeah, it really does. But the way team building, from what I've seen at least right now, a lot of people are worried about with Zenless is you're either rocking a team that has a stunner to to like capitalize on that help days, or you're rocking something with an anomaly character, or some sort of combination to really delve into like your specific anomalies like shock, freeze, burn, all those different things. But one thing that I haven't heard anybody talk about,
so bad,
she's
bro.
so fun.
She's very
I'm telling
good.
you,
God
I'm
dang,
telling
man.
you that Soldier
I
11,
want her, dude.
that
Fire.
Soldier 11 Piper Lucy team is the most fun thing in the effing world in Zenless right now. Like even more fun than Ellen's team. Like I mean,
I'm low key regretting liking, not because I don't love him,
like
but it's
hands
just
cracked.
like Soldier 11, dude. The burn is just so clean
fun,
when
bro.
you get it off.
the disorders you get off with Piper with that team, bro, is just is beautiful. Dude.
I want it bad, bro.
I-
Like I'm hoping my next 50-50 is a lose and I get Soldier 11.
100%.
100%.
But I think the one thing that people are overlooking is there hasn't been much like delving into the disorders system, in the sense that it changes the way you are looking at building your team comps, right? Because the one thing that I haven't heard anybody mention is the fact that when you trigger disorder, not only do you get a large nuke of damage from it, it also inflicts daze on the enemies. So it means you don't need to run
not yet. It's supposed to. It doesn't work right now.
So it's bugged.
They've been doing some testing, and like, so if you read about disorder, it says in the game that it's supposed to, like, this chunk of damage is equivalent to like how much of a daze meter it should build up. But right now it doesn't do that.
Okay. So in theory, when it works,
hopefully they fix it.
Yeah, in theory, when it works, if they do fix it,
It's gonna be a lot more important.
I think anomaly would spike up. That would probably be something.
Anomaly would be,
honest.
anomaly is definitely like the best specialty in the game, for sure.
I genuinely think. No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think it's gonna like shift up how you build, how like people think about building team comps, because it's gonna mean it's not gonna necessarily devalue stunners, but it's gonna bring about this mindset of like, oh, I don't have, you know, this stunner for this sort of team comp. I can't really go full in on like say a mono icing because I don't have Lycaon on this team, right? But if I have an anomaly character like Grace or Piper, or maybe a future S rank anomaly character, then what I can do is I can throw this character on the team. They're going to be building up this anomaly stacks on the team that's different from what my main damage dealer on this team is going to be dealing with. And it's going to be, we're going to be triggering disorders so much because you have the anomaly character that's going to compensate for the lack of extra elemental damage on that team. So you're going to not only be able to trigger so many anomalies, you're going to be able to trigger so many disorders, which in turn is also going to be able to enable you to trigger so many dazes and stuns as well.
I think it's going to change the way that players start to look at building teams overall, because right now, even Rehoo just said it, we're debating on like stunners or the anomaly, right? But I think it's going to get to a point where not only we're going to move away from mono teams themselves until like they're absolutely necessary, right? Like the enemy is purely weak to ice and it takes 50% extra ice damage. Of course, you're going to use a mono team on a field like that. But when it's these
trigger
general
disorder
stages, right, exactly. You know, now we have like the weather system that is in Zenless, and they're like, oh, these little enemies are weak to fire, but the main enemy is weak to physical. It's going to get to a point where those things become exaggerated. Hey, this enemy is only weak to fire. So if you don't take this enemy out with fire, you'll never get rid of the mobs. And, you know, like that's going to be a big crucial part that I could see them doing in the game, because I've seen that in Impact. Not so much the mobs, just the fact that, like, as you guys mentioned earlier, you're doing no damage to the point where it's basically immune.
No,
like,
there's enemies that are literally immune.
You just can't touch it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, I guess.
I wish we were recording this a little bit later so I could actually show you a little bit, because you know, Abyss isn't active for like another hour.
We can, I was gonna say, if you want to like do it, because I'm not doing anything with this just specifically right now. It will go out this week. So by the time you guys on the screen are watching this, it's already out. But yeah, if you want to slap B-roll, like send me your runs. Rehoo as well. I can use that for B-roll. That'd be perfect for these moments where we're just talking and there's nothing really going on screen. That'd be absolutely wonderful.
The one thing that I like what Zenless is doing too is that a lot of people probably might not see this unless you're further in Hollow Zero or in Shiyu, but they start taking away the daze meter and the anomaly buildup meter on some of these enemies later on.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of cool. It's frustrating, I'm not gonna lie, but it is cool to see that you can't like brute force your way through some of these enemies, because some of them have mechanics that deter you from doing certain things. And especially
have you gotten to the it's a debuff, I think, or one of the corruptions? You get the one where you lose energy, your all field characters all lose
dude, that
energy.
one's so bad. Yes. That one is so bad. That one's annoying. The longer
but I think
dodge.
what's funny, it promotes it, right? Because like, you know how you and I have been talking about this for a bit with the switch text and the juggles. And I know people, guys, like some of the people that come to the videos like, oh my God, he's always talking about juggles. Listen, if you hear me talk about juggling, it's because it's the easiest thing for me to reference. There's more things in the game. I just like juggles. That's a me thing. You don't have to like that. You could like parrying. I don't care what you like. The point is that, you know, like I like juggles, so I'm gonna reference it. But my main point to what I'm getting at here is that there's a lot of people that still continue to say like, oh, you can just mash, or like you don't really have to pay attention, this, that, and the third. You know, none of this stuff matters. You just do the rotation that we see on, you know, XYZ website or XYZ YouTube guide video, right? But we've all come to the understanding, and we've known this since like CBT3. Rotations don't exist in this game. Like there's no real rotation in this game.
It's much more like a fighting game.
Right. And so like you have combos, and I'm not saying combos specifically like a fighting game, guys. I am saying that there are a sequence of strings or attack commands that you input in order to get XYZ results, and it's varied. You know, there's in fighting games, right? We have corner combos, B&Bs, which is your bread and butter. You have your wall-to-wall combos. You have your anti-air combos, juggle combos, in the air combos, air to ground. There's a bunch of different scenarios where you have these combos and you need to know what to do in what scenario. This is like that in Zenless. There are stun combos, there's trying to get the days, there's energy building combos, there is burst combos. That's when you have 3000 decibel, you've dazed the enemy, you've done your chain attacks, this, that, and the third. You have quick assist combos, you have combos that launch into quick assist. There's a lot of different scenarios in Zenless that you need to be aware of by just being, I was about to say spatially aware of what's going on, so that you understand what you can and can't do. And obviously this won't apply to players that, you know, you guys just don't care, you just want to have fun. That's cool too, right? You don't have to do anything. The game isn't forcing you to do anything yet, but I also don't expect a casual player to be at in game. And so that's where the conversation kind of falters, where like if I'm talking to a casual player, there's no reason for you to be talking to me about in game on things that you don't want to do or you don't think are necessary, but you can't clear it because you don't want to do those things. You know what I mean? But ultimately, yeah, that's just kind of where I feel about that. Team building as a whole, the combo strings as a whole, what's happening from them, this is all being promoted. The game does a really bad job at forcing you to see it, right? True. Like the story mode is piss easy. The modes in between the story mode are pretty easy. And I think they try and teach you, but they don't force you to learn it. There's nothing that's really punishing in the game that tells you if you don't do 1, 2, 3, this is what's going to happen. And I think that's a little bit of a, you know, backwards way to go about the game, if you will, because I've seen some tweets. Even what was it, Gotcha Gamer? He made the tweet earlier, and he was like, guys, man, if you thought Zenless was easy, you know, I got some bad news for you. When you get to end game, man, you reach Hollow Zero and you're getting your ass kicked. I can't even get past floor 1. And I'm like, damn, he was one of the main people expressing how easy the game was. And now he's at in game, which very few people, it's a handful of people, right? You can count them on your hand how many people are at true in game right now. Gotcha Game is one of them, and he's openly done a 180 on his opinion. Hey, this game was piss easy. Now I take it back. It's no longer piss easy.
No, it's just gonna get more exponentially difficult for sure.
100%. 100%. Especially those Hollow Zero, because when you beat the final boss, they give you 11 difficulties to go through. I was doing 3 of 11 because they section you off in 3s. Bro, those monsters hurt. Those monsters hurt. And then when you're like, okay, please be a healing block somewhere in one of these floors, they're like, nah, you're good. Take another corruption.
That's another factor. We don't even have a healer, and we only have 1 defense unit.
No, our healers are Bangboos.
There is 1 healer Bangboos. That dude is clutch.
No,
that dude is clutch if you pick him up.
There's two. There's 2.
Oh,
we went through this on the game show, you and I.
There's Avocado Boo, and then the other one.
Oh, what was it?
Boo was saving myself.
There's Avocado, and then which one was it? Oh, Explorer Boo. That's right. Explorer Boo.
That guy saving my butt. He was healing me from time to time.
That's another thing, dude. Bangboos. We don't have to talk about it in this particular video, but Bangboos, man.
I could go all in on Bangboos, dude.
Dude, I think they're advanced elves. I think the damage boost or the stat boost that elves give you, that's what Bangboos do. And then I also think Bangboos are like mini Pokemon. Like if you learn how to combo off of a Bangboo, it's a wrap.
I disagree. And I will tell you,
Ooh,
yeah,
this is our first disagreement. Let's
So-
I
go.
want to see where he's going with this first.
So Bangboos, if you take a look at them, especially the S ranks, but even the A ranks, some of them do have utility, like Exploraboo and Avocaboo, where they you know, regenerate HP and some additional effects. But most of them, if you take a look at their skills, not just like their like chain attack skill or passive skill, I think if we look at the passive skill, the closest one to like Elves and Astrolaps would be probably Butler Boo, just because of the energy regen. But most of the other Bangboos though they have minor amounts of their damage type that they do when they deal damage. But if you read a lot of their skills, they say a lot, they accumulate, you know, massive amounts of anomaly buildup, right?
Yeah.
The Elves and Astrolaps, the way they work, let me just change my screen again. I was showing off Abyss a little bit just to show off the weather system, but let me go back to Discord. If we take a look at wrong thing. If we take a look at Astrolaps and Elves, right? We take a look at their skills. I'm showing off the most basic one.
He showed the only one that doesn't have anything good on them. I saw you click on them. I was like, ain't no way he's gonna show this as an example.
Nah, let's go with Kiana Elf, right? We take a look at her active skill, her ultimate, right? Dealing massive amounts of fire damage, making enemies receive 12% more elemental damage, right? Let's take, you know, they have different effects that activate depending on the leader Valkyrie in the squad, whether they're like Kiana, lightning or fire damage, making them take massive amounts of damage there. Making the elf and the team deal more fire damage, more lightning damage, right?
Why isn't
Joint
this
attacks.
like a Bangboo again?
Because
I think
Bangboos specialize in like anomaly buildup, right? But Elves and Astrolaps have much more effects where they deal damage at the same time, while also, for example, you know, further increasing the team's damage, and also with these more modern Elves, resetting swap cooldowns.
Jay, you know what you're missing right now? No, wait, this is what's gonna trump all of this. We're in 1.0. This is a like, where are we at in Honkai? We are years in the
Version
making.
9.9.
We are years in the making. So this is what I'm saying.
I hear
it's
you.
still Bangboos.
It's still in the
eventually
works.
get
I
to
just
that.
don't think we're quite there yet.
No,
right?
we'll get there. Don't worry, we will, because they'll find a way to.
That's just
find
Astrolaps. So
a
I
way
could go
to
in
get there.
on these Astering characters, you know, for Astrolaps.
Well, I don't want to overload the viewers just yet, right? Because then they'll become,
yada, yada, yada.
why am I not playing Honkai Impact then? Whoa, you know, don't play Honkai Impact, guys. You guys
No,
crazy.
no,
Don't
that's
say
crazy.
that.
Don't listen to
No,
EO.
don't say
Everyone
that.
on
Don't say
YouTube,
that.
don't listen to
I
EO.
love
Play
Impact.
Honkai Impact.
I love Impact.
EO's just a bitch
if I
boy.
could pick, no, if I could pick a game that I dedicated some time, it'd be Impact, bro. I play the fuck out of Impact, but
Okay, why
I
haven't
need
you?
every
It's
character
crazy.
for free. I need every character and weapon and elf for free. That's it.
Wild.
No, I'll tell you what you need.
If I
I'll
can't
tell
get
you
what I
what you
want,
need to
I don't want to
do.
play it.
I'll tell you what you need to do, and this is a problem with part 2, unfortunately, that they kind of mess it up. It's the fact that they released a game within a game, but they didn't treat the release of that game within a game as a new game by releasing a large cast of characters, and they released it like a patch where they released only a few characters and they're trickling them in. But if you want to get into Honkai, though, sorry for the Honkai propaganda in the Zenless video. Focus on part part 2 characters, because the game is leaning towards part 2 with Astro
all these
and
part 1s are
and
getting
then
like,
Well,
yeah.
I already missed the yo-yo girl, so it doesn't matter.
Hey, every single patch that since the initial patch, she's always been rerun because of the fact she's so crucial to the Astrolab teams. She's been rerun every single patch.
Retouch it then.
Every single patch.
So now, listen, guys. Now it's gonna be Honkai Impact third verse. They're really gonna call me a Hoyo Shield now, bro. It's gonna be
We
Impact third
welcome you.
versus Wuthering at this point.
We welcome you, bro. Wuthering could get the out of here versus Honkai. There isn't a single game that touches this game's combat other than maybe PGR, but PGR is a different realm.
Yeah, PGR's got some great combat too.
They do, but it's entirely different to Honkai. PGR is more solo focused, whereas this game is very largely team focused and team rotation focused.
Is Impact on PlayStation yet?
No.
No, and I think that's one of the biggest faults.
That's the
that
biggest
they did with
flaw.
part 2. I think the
One of the
biggest
biggest.
thing
The
they
other two
messed
is
up
no
with part
English
2.
dub.
Yep, that's exactly. Those are the two biggest things they
Yeah.
messed up entirely on. No English dub.
Two
and
of the
no
three.
PlayStation release.
2 of the 3. The other one being what I mentioned earlier, whereas they treated the game as a patch despite, you know, marketing it as like a new game within a game. So
okay, well, I feel like we covered everything, right?
Basically.
Add
PvP mode to Zenless. Let's go. I'm not gonna lie, if they add that, it's Jover. Like, I mean, I'm gonna sweat so hard in that. It's not even funny.
They add what?
It'd be such a fun mode.
If they had,
because imagine seeing your friend in your bracket, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna beat him this time.
PvP.
You see, he gets
you're
like
talking about PvP.
You see, what do you mean? Huh?
You said PvP. You
well,
want PvP
like the leaderboard PvP. Like,
oh yeah. I get you.
Yeah, like the leaderboard PvP. Like, you see him get 10 points on top. You're like, nah, I'm gonna beat him 10 points over before the.
I think a leaderboard would actually be really good.
That'd be
super seeing all these different scores here. You see?
Yeah,
so
I think that
fun.
would be really good in the game.
Because then what that promotes even better, which makes it so much better for Zenless, is the cleaner your rotations are and the more knowledge you have in the game, the faster you're beating these stages, and that gives you more of the score. So that promotes people to learn the game in its full entirety.
It's
rather than
nice
just
as well
math,
because you could see like what people run, you know, and it's the same thing in Memorial Arena. You could see like what teams people are running on different bosses, so it gives you an idea of like what to focus on, because you know you have your general idea with the weather system, which I'll show off here right here. This is what I was talking about, by the way, with the 4 nodes. We have the left node, which is the first one you clear, and then you unlock these 2. You unlock the following, and then you unlock the off weather node, and then you have the boss node that then gets unlocked once you clear. You're
gonna make me want to play fucking Zenless, dude, or not Zenless, Impact, man.
I
want Yo-Yo Girl.
You say that, and then when you get to the weather,
because it costs money.
You say that, and you get to the weather, and then you can't do any damage.
Look at this right here. This is the weather system. Oh, don't even get me started on the disturbance system. I just noticed that, dude. Oh my gosh. Rehoo, the disturbance system, bro.
We can't, guys.
But like, hey, look at this. Summoned entities deal 30% more damage. Self deals 20% more damage when a user summoned entity is present.
You get a harder game depending on where you live.
True.
Depending on where you live, you get a harder game. That's the funniest part about it.
I think honestly the hardest, apart from CN right now, the most difficult at the top end is NA. I think they have the highest disturbance level. It's like 515 or something like that. Last I was in
NA has it. Wait, really? I thought CN had the highest disturbance.
No. I said apart from CN. CN has the highest by far.
Apart from CN. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Apart from CN, like, because CN has the hardest. For the longest time, SEA was up there. Southeast Asia, that server was up there as like right behind CN. But I think as Honkai became more popular, because Hoyo in general on the global side became more popular, people started to like trickle into Honkai and realize how great of a game it is. And because of that, you know, the player population grew and the amount of people at the upper end of the game grew as a result, and so that disturbance level ended up rising further than SEA as well.
I think we'll eventually get more players in when they actually put Impact in the Hoyo launcher. When it's officially in the Hoyo launcher.
Hey, I'll tell you, I can't say much, but I'll tell you it is coming soon for sure.
Oh yeah,
it is definitely coming soon for sure, guaranteed. I cannot say much other than that though.
When they finally do it, we'll get more players.
All right. Well, you guys want to send them your way? I mean, Rehoo has his channel.
Yippee.
I know where it is. But if y'all want to let people know, give you little sign outs.
Come sub to Zenless.
I was gonna say there's no way you're gonna keep saying
Sub to Zenless Rehoo, because where all my Zenless stuff go, and also Rehoo too at the same time. Do both.
Oh my goodness.
Sub to both.
Hey, where do they follow you on Twitter, Rehoo?
At Rehoo.
Just Rehoo? Okay.
Yeah, just Rehoo.
So this is my first like time being featured on like someone else's channel, so I'll give my own like little spiel. My name is Jayniro, Jay for short. You can just call me Jay. I'm primarily a Honkai YouTuber and content creator, making like funny Honkai guides over at youtube.com/Jayniro. And I also stream. I'm starting to get into Zenless as well, trying to expand the Hoyo sphere, because, you know, I think it's a good idea. But I also stream pretty regularly over at twitch.tv/Jayniro. I stream all the different Hoyo games, from Honkai, Genshin, Star Rail, ZZZ, I've been playing the game for a long time. And if you guys want to keep up with me and everything like that, twitter.com/Jayniro_. And that's it for me. That's your boy.
All right. Well, then there you go, guys. Y'all have everything you needed. Hopefully, we made a pretty convincing argument here. It wasn't even really an argument.
Play
I just
Honkai.
wanted to get let y'all know, right? Prepare before the storm.
It happens.
That's all it is. I'm trying to give you guys as much preparation time as possible.
Zenless
So
gonna be
that when it
virtual.
happens, yeah, you know, I don't want anybody like, what the? I didn't know any. Why would Zenless do that? Everyone said it's easy. And I'm like, hey man, you should have been aware.
Approaching.
But that'll be it, man. Yo, thank y'all for hanging out with me today. Thank y'all for watching the video. Like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Links in the description down below. I can't say my usual outro because it's inappropriate for YouTube. Smell you later.
Laters. Jenny.